study a suitable volume. What do you need to do? Speak with sufficient loudness or intensity of voice. In determining what is suitable, consider 1. The size and the makeup of your audience. 2. Distracting noises. 3. The material being discussed. And 4. Your objective. Why is it important? Unless others can readily hear you, their minds may wander, and the information you present may not be clear to them. If you speak too loudly, people may find it irritating and even disrespectful. If a public speaker lacks needed volume, some in the audience may begin to doze. If a publisher speaks too softly in the field ministry, he may not hold the attention of the householder. And at meetings where comments from the audience are not given with adequate volume, those present will not receive needed encouragement. Heb. 10:24-25. On the other hand, if a speaker increases his volume at the wrong time, the audience may become uncomfortable, even annoyed. Proverbs 27:14. Consider your audience. To whom are you speaking? To an individual? To a family group? To a modest-sized group that is meeting for field service? To the entire congregation? Or to a large convention? It is evident that volume suitable in one situation might not be appropriate in another. On various occasions, servants of God have spoken to large audiences. At the inauguration of the temple in Jerusalem in the days of Solomon, there was no sound equipment. So Solomon stood on an elevated platform and blessed the people with a loud voice. 1 King 8:55, 2 Chronicles 6:13. Centuries later, after the outpouring of Holy Spirit at Pentecost 33 CE, a multitude, some interested, others mocking, gathered around the small body of Christians in Jerusalem. Showing practical wisdom, Peter stood up, and raised his voice. Acts 2:14, a powerful witness was given. How can you tell whether the volume that you are using is suitable in a given situation? Audience reaction is one of the best barometers. If you notice that some in the audience are straining to hear, you should endeavor to adjust your volume. Whether we are speaking to an individual or to a group, it is wise to consider who make up the audience. If someone is hard of hearing, you may need to raise your voice. But shouting will not endear you to people who may simply react a little slower because of advanced age. It may even be considered a sign of rudeness. In some cultures, too much volume is viewed as evidence that a person is angry or impatient. Consider distracting noises. When you engage in the field ministry, the circumstances you encounter definitely influence the volume needed to give a witness. You may have to compete with graphic noise, rowdy children, barking dogs, loud music, or a blaring television. On the other hand, in areas where homes are close together, it may embarrass the householder if you speak so loudly that you attract the attention of the neighbors. Brothers who give talks in the congregation or at conventions also have to cope with a wide variety of circumstances. Speaking to an audience outdoors is quite different from delivering a talk in a hall that has fine acoustics. In Latin America, 2 missionaries shared in giving a public talk on the patio of the home of an interested person while fireworks were going off in the nearby plaza and a rooster was crowing insistently nearby. In the middle of a talk, something might happen that calls for either a pause until the disturbance subsides or an increase in volume. For example, if a meeting is being held in a structure with a tin roof, a sudden downpour may make it almost impossible for the audience to hear the speaker. A crying child or a disturbance caused by late arrivals will surely present a challenge. Learn to compensate for the distractions so that your audience can benefit fully from the information you are presenting. Sound amplifying equipment will be helpful if it is available, but it does not eliminate the need for increased volume on the part of the speaker when the situation calls for it. In some places where power outages are frequent, speakers are obliged to continue their talk without the aid of a microphone. Consider the material being discussed. The nature of the material in your talk also has a bearing on the volume needed. If the subject calls for strength, do not weaken the presentation by speaking too softly. For example, when you are reading denunciations from the scriptures, your volume should be stronger than when you are reading counsel on showing love. Adapt your volume to the material, but be careful to do it in a manner that does not draw attention to yourself. Consider your objective. If you want to stimulate your audience to spirited activity, you may need to use somewhat stronger volume. If you want to change their thinking, do not drive them away by using too much volume. If you are endeavoring to console, a softer voice is usually better. Effective use of increased volume. When you are trying to get the attention of someone who is busy, increased volume often helps. Parents know this, so they raise their voices to call their children when it is time for them to come in from play. Increased volume may also be necessary when a chairman brings a congregation meeting or an assembly to order. As publishers share in the field ministry, they may call out a greeting as they approach people who are working outdoors. Even after you get someone's attention, it is important to continue to use sufficient volume. A very subdued voice may give the impression that the speaker is ill-prepared or lacks conviction. When coupled with a command, raising a voice can move people to action. Acts 14:9-10. Similarly, a shouted command may avert disaster. In Philippi, a jailer was about to kill himself because he thought that his prisoners had escaped. Paul called out with a loud voice, saying, "Do not hurt yourself, for we are all here." In this way a suicide was averted. Paul and Silas then witnessed to the jailer and his household, who all embraced the truth. Acts 16:27-33. How to improve your volume. For some, more than the usual effort is required to learn how to use suitable volume. A person may speak with insufficient volume because of having a weak voice. However, with effort, improvement may be possible, though he may still be soft-spoken. Give attention to breathing and posture. Practice sitting and standing erect. Push back your shoulders, and breathe deeply. Be sure that you are filling the lower part of your lungs. It is this air supply, properly regulated, that makes it possible for you to control your volume when speaking. For others, the problem is that they speak too loudly. Perhaps they developed the habit as a result of working outdoors or in a noisy environment. On the other hand, they may come from a background where everyone shouts and interruptions are common. As a result, they feel that the only way to get a word in is to talk louder than the rest. As they progressively heed the Bible's counsel to clothe themselves with the tender affections of compassion, kindness, lowliness of mind, mildness, and long-suffering, they will make adjustments in the volume they use when conversing with others. Colossians 3:12. Preparation, experience that comes from regular participation in the field service, and prayer to Jehovah will help you to speak with suitable volume. Whether speaking from the platform, or to an individual in the field ministry, endeavor to focus your thoughts on how the other person can be helped by hearing what you are saying. Proverbs 18:21. How to improv. Be observant of the reactions of those to whom you speak. Use the right amount of volume so that they can hear comfortably. Learn to fill the lower part of the lungs as you breathe. Exercise. First read Acts 19:23-41 silently, getting in mind the setting as revealed in the narrative and the context. Take note of who is speaking and the attitude being displayed. Then read it aloud with volume that is suitable for each portion. Box on page 108, when increased volume may be needed. To hold the attention of a larger group. To counteract distractions. To command attention when saying something very important. To stimulate to action. To get the attention of an individual or a group.